Hello friends, welcome into NFL Daily presented by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. I am your host Tom Downey, here with the latest NFL rumors, and first up, some rather bad news here for the Redskins and Alex Smith. Now, as you guys know, dealing with a broken tibia and fibula, a very nasty injury that Alex Smith suffered. The bad news is that he is now reported dealing with infections caused by some surgical complications, and he's had multiple surgeries to try and combat that infection. He remains in the hospital still. That's very concerning for Alex Smith, even just as a person. And in terms of his NFL career, the concern, at least reportedly, is that Smith has a career-ending injury, that he's not going to be able to recover from the broken leg at his age, or even from the complications from the infection. Now, other reports say that's a bit premature. Either way, it's clearly very serious for Alex Smith, and I'm sure you agree with me here. Everyone's hoping that he can get better in the very near future, but that's the latest there on Alex Smith. It does sound like there are some surgery complications, dealing with infection there. Hopefully he is going to be okay for his long-term health. As for the Redskins going forward, I don't know how this is a real NFL quarterback room in 2018. Mark Sanchez and Josh Johnson, that's who you got. Bet against the Redskins every single week, because those two quarterbacks are not going to get it done. Maybe you should have signed Colin Kaepernick, who, by the way, runs a very similar system to Jay Gruden. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Unfortunately for Washington, a very promising season has been derailed by injuries so far. Let's talk coaches now. Josh McDaniels and the Packers. Now, as you know, Mike McCarthy fired by Green Bay after last week's loss. There are some assistant coaches that want to join a McDaniels-led staff in Green Bay, and it's noteworthy because McDaniels, I thought, was going to be untouchable for any team outside of New England. He agreed to the Colts job and then backed out at the very last second after the Colts had already announced it. He reneged on the deal. They ended up hiring Frank Reich, and things seem to be working out well for Indy. But you don't want to hire a coach, hire some of his staff members, and then have him bail on you. So we'll see if that impacts McDaniels' job chances, but as of right now, he is one of the betting favorites to land the Packers head coaching job. Via BetDSI, John DeFilippo, once again your main, often for many teams, your top target. McDaniels, interesting next three here, all right? Adam Gase, which I find curious. Jim Harbaugh, we'll talk about that again more in a minute. Lincoln Riley, who I don't think is going to leave for the Packers job. I think he'd only leave really for the Cowboys job, frankly. Dave Taub, if you want to have the next Sean McVay, maybe Zach Taylor is your guy. He's the quarterback's coach out in L.A. Eric Bieniemy, Bruce Arians, who apparently only wants the Browns job, and Pete Carmichael, the longtime Sean Payton OC in New Orleans. So who should Green Bay hire as their next head coach? Do you want Josh McDaniels? You want to take a risk on him after what happened in Indy, and frankly, if you want to go back to Denver as well? Or is there somebody else in mind? Let me know who you guys are targeting in the comment section. I'm sure you guys have some great names in mind. And by the way, stay tuned later on in the week. We'll have our own Packers Hot Board Top 10. All right, folks, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. Put down $50, they're going to give you $60 for free. Put down $100, they're going to give you $120 for free. Put down $500 to bet with, they're going to give you a bonus of $600, but only at chatsports.com/bet if you use promo code LIVE120. All right, next up on the rumors side of things, the rumor that will never die. Jim Harbaugh back to the NFL, and Chris Carter says watch out because Harbaugh is trying to get his way out of Michigan, and he's got sauces saying he's going to go to the Green Bay or the Browns, which, again, I don't believe this. I really don't. It's Chris Carter. I don't consider him a news-breaking journalist. He's a talking head. I understand that. I know the Harbaugh rumors will never die, but if there was a time that you don't want to leave Michigan, isn't it right now? Urban Meyer just left. This is your chance, Jim, to win at Michigan. If he leaves Michigan now, he will have been a failure because he will have never been OSU. He will have not won a Big Ten. He will have not made it to the CFP. I don't think it makes sense right now for Harbaugh to leave, and frankly, maybe his stock isn't even all that high given what we saw happen in the last game we saw him play against Ohio State, or I should say coach against Ohio State. All right, back to the players now. How about Cam Newton? Is his shoulder still an issue? Now, he says he's surprised to still be experiencing pain after his shoulder surgery, and you saw it on Sunday, right? Hail Mary time, Newton gets pulled out, Taylor Henneke comes in and has to throw the last pass. This is an Andrew Luck type shoulder procedure. His shoulder is clearly not right. When you can't throw your team's Hail Mary from really not that far of a throw for Newton, who's got a cannon, well, that means something's not right. So he could have another operation this season, and I think the past couple games have been a bit of a downturn for Cam Newton. Now, the accuracy's still been very high, way higher than any other year for Cam Newton in the NFL. And the yards are okay over 4 games, I guess. The main issue, 9 TDs just with 7 interceptions. And by the way, all 4 of those games have been losses. So Newton has not played well, and the Panthers have seen their playoff hopes take an absolutely massive hit. Now, unfortunately, as good as I felt about Carolina earlier this year, I'm not feeling all that confident about Carolina. They're going to have to win, frankly, I think 3 of the next 4 to get in. 9-7 might get you in, but 8-8's not. So they sit now at 6-6. They play the Browns. Good chance there. But then they have the Saints twice down the stretch and the Falcons as well. It's a very tough path for Carolina, especially since the Saints might still be playing for a chance at home field advantage in the final week of the NFL season. Some more injury notes here, and this one also just a brutal injury. Emmanuel Sanders, his season is over. He suffered a torn Achilles just running routes. Was running routes against air. There was no defender guarding him. He was doing a simple shallow in route, and he went down. And that ends his season. Similar to the Dez Bryant Saints thing, it's an Achilles injury. His season is now over. He was having a great year. I love Emmanuel Sanders. I hate to see him go down and miss the rest of the season. Now, Denver, when the year started, they were pretty deep at receiver. They went 4 deep. I mean, 5 if you want to include Tim Patrick. But now Sanders is gone. You traded away Demaryius Thomas. It is now the Courtland Sutton era in Denver, at least at receiver. Deshaun Hamilton could step up in a similar type of role. He's kind of more of a slot outside guy in that same Sanders type of mold, although obviously not quite as good yet. And Tim Patrick has been a nice surprise, but the rest of those guys there, I mean, Andre Holmes couldn't make it with the Bills, and now he's your 5th receiver, maybe your 4th down the road for Denver, given that they don't really have a ton of size outside of a Courtland Sutton. Hamilton, a little bit smaller, more athletic, agility type receiver. All right, folks, it is getting close to the holidays and Christmas time, so if you need that perfect gift for that guy in your life, get him a Mizzen and Main shirt. Comfortable.af is the site. You are not going to find a more comfortable dress shirt than a Mizzen and a Main shirt. Comfortable.af is the site. They're made in America, and it is the best damn dress shirt out there. Speaking of former Bills receivers, how about Kelvin Benjamin? Stop making him happen, guys. He's not any good. That is the reality of the situation. He went unclaimed on waivers because he had a pretty big contract. That wasn't a surprise. The Chiefs are bringing Kelvin Benjamin in for a visit. And here's my main point with Benjamin. He's just not good. He's slow, he's out of shape, he can't run routes, and he's dropping balls. If you are those things as an NFL receiver, what are you good for? You're going to try and bulk him up into a tight end? It doesn't make any sense to me, or maybe have him cut weight to be a tight end at this point. I am passing on Kelvin Benjamin, and the Chiefs' interest is kind of curious to me. Because you have Tyreek Hill. I know Sammy Watkins has, again, been banged up because that's who Sammy Watkins is. Conley's made some plays, Robinson at times as well. Look, in the end, I don't have any interest in Kelvin Benjamin. The reality is, despite being a high draft pick not that long ago, he's just not ready to play football right now. No, by the way, he's a bad teammate. You heard him rip on Cam Newton. And I'm sure in a matter of time, he'll blame the Bills having all kinds of different quarterback play for Benjamin just not producing. He's supposed to be a contested catch guy that doesn't win contested catches. And that's not a good combo there for a receiver. Speaking of Chiefs here, Kareem Hunt. Now, there'd been a little bit of buzz from people like Pro Football Talk that the Eagles could have interest in Kareem Hunt. Of course, he went unclaimed on waivers. And yeah, I guess they kind of make sense from a knee perspective, and it'd be fun to see Kareem Hunt in Philadelphia in a purely football sense. But I think for good reason, the Eagles aren't showing any interest right now in Hunt. I mean, that changes after the year ends or whatever. But Kareem Hunt right now, folks, he's untouchable. Nobody wants to bring that into the locker room right now. They don't want to deal with the negative PR hit. So they're not going to sign Kareem Hunt. Now, maybe after the year, after his assumed suspension ends, maybe then you'll see a team take a shot on Kareem Hunt. He's certainly a very talented player, but we know this about NFL players. When there's video of your of your assault, of your crime, that's when things tend to go bad. So I don't know if you'll see Kareem Hunt play again. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd kind of lean toward yes, because the NFL, they'll overlook character flaws if you're a good enough football player in most cases. We'll see if Kareem Hunt is one of those exceptions. Speaking of non-exceptions, how about the 49ers and Reuben Foster? Now, of course, you guys all know what happened by now. His ex accused Foster of beating her again down in Tampa before a team game at the team hotel. Now, the interesting part here is, of course, SF cut him and the Redskins claimed him, was that Elisa Ennis accuses the Niners of intervening during Foster's arrest. So that the 49ers, and she did not clarify in her interview this morning with if it was players or staff members or whomever, that this was the same woman who accused him the first time. That, I think, is worth mentioning because if you're the Niners, probably not a good thing to be dealing with right now. But that's just me. Either way, maybe not the best situation here for the 49ers and Foster. We'll see what happens going forward here. Apparently, by the way, Ennis in the interview said that Foster had flown her down there, and that Ennis was going to tell Foster's new girlfriend that he had flown her down there, and that's what triggered Foster losing his cool and beating her. So, either way, Redskins, why'd you sign him? That's my main takeaway there, I guess, in the end. All right, one last rumor here I want to discuss. Kyler Murray. Could he still go to the NFL? Now, he's been drafted by the A's, a first-round pick, a multi-million-dollar deal. But he talked with Tim Tebow and said, I think that's something, when asked about the NFL, I think that's something my family and I will talk about at the end of the season and weigh out the options of what the NFL thinks of me. Right now, my future is already kind of planned out, but we'll see what happens, which makes it seem like the door's kind of open for Kyler Murray to go play football, right? I'll make note, though, his agent Scott Boras said today that Kyler has every intention of fulfilling his deal with the A's and is going to play baseball. He will be at spring training. Now, which one would you choose? Let me know, football or baseball. For me, guys, it's a no-brainer. I love football. You go play baseball. Because baseball, you make a lot more money if you do it well. You can be a good to solid pitcher like a Jeff Samardzija who's about to top $100 million. Go play baseball if you're Kyler Murray.